What's up, men? Welcome to the Male Cartel podcast. Let's get started.
Do you think men are important? Like for what?
Men are not meant to be dominant. Men are meant to be submissive.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just going to be honest.
It's okay to be fat.
Dispelling toxic masculinity and really redefining what it means to be a man. Men can cry. So it's okay to be weak. It's okay to be weak.
I'm telling you right now, not everybody wants to see you win.
You seem to be more woman than you are man. You don't have any manly qualities.
You give them this message that it's okay to be a man.
It's not okay, it's necessary. How are we going to do without men? If you look around the city here, you see all these buildings go up. These men, they're doing impossible things.
It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Be a dangerous man. Being dangerous is not being a threat. They're two different things. You can't be a good man if you're not a dangerous man. You say one disrespectful thing to my wife, I am not only willing, but I'm able to inflict great bodily damage.
I'm going to do everything in my power to become a victor and not a victim. I can't explain it, but you better feel me. Winners win and losers lose. I can't explain it any better than that. I don't know how it happens, but winners win. And if you create a culture of losing, if you keep being a victim, if you keep letting losing happen to you, if you keep letting people do you and treat you any kind of way, it's going to become a culture. What's the matter with you? There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Here's your host, Nick and Shane.
Male Cartel. Feels like it's been forever.
It has been forever. Forever in one day.
Forever in one day. You took your green hoodie off.
Well, hold up. I'm gonna put my hood back on.
I thought you.
I always wear hoods, but I'm just a hood guy.
You look like the Green Goblin.
Green
I thought
Goblin.
I thought we were doing like character.
Yeah, you're gonna be the
Comic-Con Male Cartel.
Yeah, Green Goblin. What's up? Yeah, I like the new backdrop. You
Yeah.
want to say something about it?
Yeah, I was going to introduce.
Or we're just going to try to keep this a secret, Nick.
Well, so a large portion of our listeners are on. I mean, we have a decent amount on YouTube, but our audio. So they'll have to tune in to YouTube to see the new redesign of the studio.
It looks awesome, dude. I really didn't know you had that in you. It's like I said earlier, like you just have a feminine touch to everything, bro. It looks awesome. It doesn't even look feminine. It actually look, if you're listening, just picture this. 2 tan-looking walls on the side of us, and then the MC logo in the middle of us, and then some comfy chairs. And
comfy chairs and nice little table.
What would you call that?
An end table?
It's at the end. I guess it'd be end table. A round end table?
Yeah.
It's a middle table.
It's probably temporary.
It's the end, but it's also a middle table.
It's a middle table.
Between
For us, it's a middle table.
So
it's the end middle table.
Do we put a drink on that?
We could put a drink or
our
a
cell phones on it? Is this no? This is
the
a
phone table.
Phone table.
There we go. If you put them close enough, do they
start talking to each other? They start macking out, bro. Mine's a female. Just let you know.
Is it?
Oh, it's so funny.
Interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
What you been up to?
Dude, just the summer, man. Summer camps, mission trips. Was at North Carolina for a camp last week. Was phenomenal. And just a normal. I felt say normal. Last summer was not normal, but normal for me. Busy. Yeah, I've been away for about 4 weeks. Like if you look at totality from the summer, we're like week 6 probably in the summer right now.
Yeah.
And then so I was gone probably 4 of those weeks.
Here in Georgia, we've got a couple more weeks before 3?
Yeah,
4 schools back in.
3. Yeah, start back 3 weeks.
I think North Carolina or Virginia is like Labor Day weekend, something like that. So they get a whole extra month.
Do they? But they have to go to school till like mid-June, don't they? Something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was only a week longer than.
It could be a week longer, but this year was different for us because in Georgia, what Augusta's speaking about, we were like I think we were done middle of May this year. Then the third week was exam week. Graduations was that Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, so it may be it may be a couple weeks.
When I was in school, now you went to you got a private Christian education.
I did both.
So like you went to a private school. I mean, I didn't have money like that, but we
you know how I went to the last Christian school?
Yeah, just
I had to get there. I had to get there early and take trash out and vacuum carpets. There were guys that had no interest in being at a Christian school, weren't there for the right reason. They were there for sports. They go on a scholarship.
That's right.
And my buddy Josh and I had to go early before school started, take out trash, vacuum, mop. We had to work our way through school.
You were an indentured servant, bro.
And I still play sports.
And you still did it, guys. Yeah, when I was in school, we didn't get out of school till the first week in June.
Yeah.
So we went straight through. Back in the day, in the 80s, early 80s, it was all. I just remember elementary being. You're thinking, oh man, I can't wait to get to June. And the report cards got out. You received it in the mail, and it was like the 8th or the 9th. But you always went to like the 3rd.
But we did go through. I mean, like we would start back in September though.
We would start back in. Yours was South Carolina, probably. I
went to both.
So I remember my birthday's August 16th. So we started oftentimes on my birthday, the 15th, 16th, or 17th that week. And so, but I do know that a lot of the other schools, and it's different too because that was Richmond County. Did you go to Richmond County schools?
Public schools were in South Carolina. Christian school I was in Georgia, South Carolina.
So you could, because I remember South Carolina, I remember them being behind us. So you very well could have been like, after Labor Day.
Yeah, and South Carolina now does more of the year-round school.
We start ours. We homeschool, but with our kids, we start when Columbia County starts. We do the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, been a busy summer.
What's up with you, man? What you doing?
Just a little bit of everything. Man. Church, funerals, camp. We did camp. I don't know if we've recorded since we did camp, but
you spoke at it too.
Yeah, this was the first year we did like one speaker for the whole camp. So just to try to keep a consistency, and it's kind of hard when you have 5 different speakers, but you want to keep a similar theme. I mean, it's always, I thought, done well. Some guys might be a little more prepared than others, but this was the first year we attempted that, and I think it went well. We got good feedback. So
what did you preach about?
The theme was the shift. So it was shifting our mindset or our thinking from believing lies to believing the truth. So we covered a lot of different lies that students believe, today.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be about identity, whether it be about stuff that could cause anxiety, those type things. And so we focused the week on that. And the good thing was you're able to build on each message and have that consistency. Really, I think the only way you can do that is if you get 5 people in a room and sit down and go, okay, here's kind of what we're doing. So,
dude, yeah, man, I agree. Yeah, I spoke at this camp, and I was the only speaker. So, when we do our summer camp at our church, everybody has a different night that they preach on. However, we all prep. We all sit down, kind of lay it all out, know exactly who's talking about stuff, and then we do the pre-meeting the week before, so that you can walk through your outline with the whole group. So we all know, so we're not stepping on each other. But usually there's a theme that you each have, and so you don't come into problems. But I did a thing at our church recently, and I was the last speaker to close this thing up. It was Sunday, actually. And I felt like all my material, everything I had, it was literally my topic. Like honestly, everybody who spoke before me said a little bit about my stuff. And it came to me. Everybody collectively, all 5 other people in this breakouts have basically communicated to the audience everything I want to say. I felt like I had nothing to share.
Yeah.
And I didn't like how that made me feel. And I think next year, if they do something like that, we'll have to button that up, because I had a little bit of anxiety when I was because I know if I was in the audience, I would look at Like, man, I can get home right about now. I've already heard all this stuff. He's saying the same exact thing. So I try to posture it a little bit different. I think it came off well, but if I wasn't a seasoned pro at this, it probably would have melted somebody.
Yeah.
Because I was feeling it. But
yeah, I don't like people to know what I'm talking about before I.
What'd you do for July 4th? It was $250, bro.
We just
fireworks.
No, I mean I watched some. We just took it easy. No big.
What'd you eat that day? Anything American? Or did you eat French fries?
Dude, I don't remember.
Celebrate the French and Indian War or something?
I mean, the day before we went and saw Young Washington. May have been that day I watched the other documentary on Washington that's on Netflix.
I saw that too.
And I don't remember, to be honest.
I went to Daddy Mike's house. It was his birthday. So we celebrated his birthday, celebrated America. It was July 3rd and July 4th. And then we my family and I we left in time to where we pulled into Slim Chickens in Evans. My wife wanted to see fireworks. We backed up, parking spot. My kids hopped out the back of my truck, and we just watched fireworks. We got there, literally backed my truck up in because traffic wasn't bad right there. And within 3 minutes, they started fireworks.
Nice.
And they saw it, and then we left, and we got home.
So within 3 minutes, it was that parking lot was open?
Yeah, it was nobody there. By the time, like, the first probably maybe 60 seconds, a minute, cars started backing up and sitting in. There wasn't a full parking lot at all, but everywhere else was slammed.
Yeah, I think Haley was across the street at Home Depot watching them.
That's usually what we do.
Yeah, we went, I remember now, we went to my mother-in-law's house, and we grilled out, ate lunch together, and then hung out there. And we usually try to get together with the family on Independence Day, and so that's what we did.
So
it was so exciting. I remembered right off the top of my head.
What is the food of what's like the American food to cook out for?
We got steaks.
My word, that is amazing.
Yep.
I can't eat steak, but man, that sounds awesome.
I mean, what's more American than steak?
Yeah, I think. Are you a burger or hot dog guy?
Burger.
So if you had two amazing hot dogs, would you still choose a hamburger?
Two amazing hot dogs?
Over one amazing hamburger?
No, I'd go with the hamburger.
See, I choose hot dogs.
Really?
Yeah, I've always been that way. But I'm a big hot dog guy, but I need about 10 of them. But now I don't eat hot dogs unless I cut them in half. And
when I went to California, I liked Pink's hot dogs. They have all kind of different, unique stuff. I mean, I like a decent hot dog, but I prefer a hamburger.
Yeah, I like. I still would do hamburger. Yeah, too. But steak though, what kind of steak do y'all have?
We bought a few different kinds. So
you probably got filet.
No.
Ribeye.
Like then there was a New York strip, and then sirloin.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
what's your favorite?
Ribeye.
Mine too, man.
Yeah.
Some folks be hating on ribeyes. Corell, just look at us. Give us a thumbs up.
I can't see Corell anymore. There's a light blocking him.
Are you a sirloin guy? Thumb down or thumbs up?
He's not a big steak guy, are you?
Are you? What's your favorite steak?
He's not a big steak guy.
Filet.
Yeah, because we've gone to places several times, and you prefer fish, right? Salmon, yep. But like when we go to even somewhere like Barbaritos or somewhere like that, you usually get either like chicken or Barbaritos has Friday fish. Yeah. I rarely have seen him get steak, if ever.
That's the number one.
Yeah.
You like Reinhardt's? Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
I love some Reinhardt's.
Oh, and they got some good deals.
Yeah, that date night Thursday, bro.
And even Wednesday, they have their catfish and shrimp for like $11.
Yeah, I love Reinhardt's, bro.
Yeah.
I love it.
Inexpensive.
Yeah.
Well, people probably do not care what we are doing or eating, but talking about celebrating Independence Day 250, we were talking about just kind of honoring some of the men that go before us. I mean, I've known about Washington, so I, kind of tuned into those documentaries. We wanted to see young Washington because we're one of the Angel members, so we've heard about that, which was a phenomenal, movie, and seemed to keep aligned with what other stuff that I have, kind of seen, but talking about kind of honoring the men that's gone before us, talking about America and 250, we were kind of discussing among ourselves, kind of, discussing some of that today in today's episode, honoring the men that have gone before us. What's some of your thoughts behind that? Like we were talking about together.
I've always loved, like, my favorite war, if you can have a favorite war, I think it's kind of like, but I think this has been a very beneficial war, was the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
And I love how whenever I would teach my kids history and we talk about history, you talk about the French and Indian War and you talk about the 7 Years' War, right? And so you talk about the tension that it played where, like, the British, how they didn't have any money. They want to recoup some of the money, and so they started taxing, and they were already controlling. And I do think, like, the Washington, show. I didn't see the movie yet, but like Young Washington, but the Washington, like, there's some things I didn't know about George Washington that I really appreciated about him, and on the Netflix deal, and just showed, like, how it was how they looked at the colonials and the people there as it being, like, lesser.
Yeah.
And you kind of knew that, snobby, but I'm a big Patriot movie guy. I watched that recently after.
Watch that too.
And, and just looking at that. So anyways, I love all that. I think it was super beneficial. It really, it actually, honestly, it kind of inspired me a little bit too, just be honest with you. Just because it was just a whole collection of guys. And they knew as much as they knew. And a lot of them were young. And, like, especially for that day and age, very young. And so for them to stand up against, it was, to be in treason. Like, they could have lost the war so many moments. Could have lost. But just have the resolve and the want to and the grit and the militia and the people there, they just kind of formed together. And I love that. I just love that. And I really didn't give it any emphasis. And some of you listeners, you might have thought about this. I didn't think about this. And Nick, I would love to know your. But, like, not everybody was on board with this whole thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, honestly. And I was a history minor too in college. And so, like, I never even considered that, because how our professor was always postured the whole thing, like, as if America was just a dump city. A dump country, but you just dump all your lower class people who had criminals. They did that too, like some criminals, people who were lower class. They just put them out there, and because they couldn't compete with British, and then those who were maybe, like, in elite company were basically controlling that. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, I just never thought of it like, how that was. What is your thoughts?
I enjoyed, and I know it's fictional, but you take the Patriot and you see the apprehensive nature because understanding, having served in previous wars, the French and Indian War, even it's depicted there, Benjamin Martin was very apprehensive because you see the consequences of war. Yeah. And so, and back in those days, we look at it in hindsight and we go, that was the stupidest way to fight wars.
Right.
Line up and just shoot at each other.
Take your turn.
And that was supposed to be like...
Gentlemen.
Yeah, the gentleman way of doing it. And it kind of alludes to it in the Young Washington movie with Angel that's in theaters right now, that they possibly kind of got their way of doing or fighting like the militia style, kind of like Benjamin Martin represented in The Patriot.
He was like Francis Marion is like his character is based off of.
Yeah, well,
right.
But it shows that more covert
guerrilla
warfare type style. Yeah. And in Young Washington, it alludes to the fact that they got that style of fighting, or were possibly kind of inspired by the Indians, because the Indians, he has this encounter with, I forget, it was like half chief, or I forget the guy's name. It's in also the Netflix version.
When he was 22.
When he's young, when he goes to encounter the French, the first one he loses, and the Indian chief or whoever was in charge at that time basically says, you're in a new world. You got to fight different. And so to me, I saw the same thing. The British basically looked at the colonial, as being less than. Washington couldn't be in military service. They gave him limited roles, and so he ended up getting frustrated and resigning. But then the whole taxing them, they said basically anything they traded, people would just pay what they wanted, but then they would charge whatever they wanted for any trades. So there's this great frustration, and you couldn't really make progress. And so they were really pushed on the brink. And really, I think that it shows that they weren't just war hungry. And I think that's why a lot of people were apprehensive, because you had this massive army. Like when you're watching the different documentaries and the movie, you see just how much of a miracle it is that we are free today. Like it's crazy because of all the battles that were lost, everything they were up against. The soldiers weren't paid for, I think, over a year. It's crazy. And so to me, as a man looking at that, it's inspiring because you see the grit. Of course, not every man stuck with it, but those that did, you see the commitment to a greater cause than themselves. Like it's just it's inspiring to, as good as we have it, to see what they were willing to endure, but also just the fact that, we've talked about many times, do hard things, being willing to do what's difficult. And that plays out in many different ways. That could be working the hours that you need to work. That could be physical fitness, you name it. Like we could go down the line, do hard things. And just the battle where of Trenton, where they had to go down the Delaware River. I've heard about that, but I didn't know what they were up against. The winter weather, you always see the picture and the depiction of the snow while they're on the river and stuff. But then after they get off, the fact that they had a 9-mile trek with like their cannons and the soldiers in that bitter cold. And then the fact that the other group that was supposed to meet them didn't even show up. And yet they won that battle because it was covert, like in, they said, a matter of minutes. And so, to me, that's just awesome. And so it makes me think as a man, like, how should I reflect that same kind of character and grit in my own life when I've got it good?
Now, they didn't lose not one person, right? Wasn't it?
In that battle, I don't think they did.
And
it was like, done in minutes because they didn't know they were coming.
Yeah, they killed like 22 people, captured like 400 people, and didn't lose a soldier.
Yeah.
And they weren't even prepared for winter, like their outfits or something like that. I remember the Netflix was talking about that. Yeah, I find it super interesting too. Like,
yeah, they had their summer uniforms.
What I found interesting leading up to all that was trying to get the Constitution and all the legal stuff and get everybody on board to make this happen. Seemed to be, just a tough task. So I watched Sons of Liberty many, many years ago, and that was a History Channel deal. And I loved it because it had to do with Boston, Massachusetts, and the Boston Massacre and all that. And it was like to get to that point, and then Washington comes in, and that's kind of where it stops. So Netflix kind of like enters and kind of back, fills in a lot of the stuff. But I love that movie, and because I used to watch, there was a cartoon called The Liberty Kids or something, long time ago. But I like the character Sam Adams. That's John Adams' cousin, and he was like the Speaker of the House or whatever it was for all that. But in that show, I was pretty frustrated because I went back and watched it after watching the Netflix, and Sam Adams is like a 21-year-old, but in real life he was in his 40s.
Really?
And I was like, hold up. They make it like this guy's like handsome and he's super young, like in his lower 20s, but he wasn't like that. No, he was like in his 40s, bro. It was kind of like, but I went and started looking up the history of all this stuff. So it made me think different. Like, come on, guys. They had Benjamin Franklin, who was 70 years old when all that was taking place. So like, they got him right because you always think of him being an old guy.
Right. All of his pictures, you can't hide that
old. So like, did you know, like, so we knew Washington was 44. I didn't know anything about him being 22.
When he first started.
When he first started. So, and then, one of the heroes of the war was Nathaniel Greene, which was like his right hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was 19 years old.
Yeah.
And then, remember
most of the guys.
Lafayette, he was like an expert. He was a French guy.
Yeah.
And then he became a general at 19. But Lafayette was 18 years old when he was in 1776.
Yeah, most of the
crazy
forefathers and all, like the Sam Adams at 40, Benjamin Franklin, there was only a handful that were older than 40.
Most everybody was like 30, lower 30s.
Which could be some of the conflict that they had, coming to an agreement. You needed the Benjamin Franklins, you needed the older guys to really go, hey.
That's so true.
We've lived in, Great Britain. We've been there. This is how we need to shape our government. And we know that things have taken time. It's an imperfect nation. There's things that we've had to get right, things that we had wrong. But at the same time, you needed those older guys to kind of go, hey, this is how things need to be established because of what we've endured, in the homeland. And so, to me, that was phenomenal. The other thing is we talk about our forefathers and we talk about the men who fight the wars, but going back to even the fictional depiction, they're basing it on what really happened. Think about the women and children who suffered greatly at the hands of the British, because anyone who harbored, anyone who helped, they went after them. They killed them. They did all sorts of stuff to them. So there was a whole group of people who suffered for the cause of freedom, which to me, it puts in the forefront of like, if there's something worth, what is worth dying for?
Yeah.
We have such a compromise these days. We have such a we're willing to back down to not face persecution or opposition. It's like those guys were willing to die even when it looked like this is helpless. Like there's no hope in what we're doing. And so to me, it's just amazing, the men and the women that went before us to make sure that we've got something like freedom.
Yeah, it would have been very easy for them to just, because they made a point to, like in the Netflix documentary deal, was just making sure you understood that the British was like the most elite fighting force.
Yeah.
So it'd been so easy just to say, tuck your tail and say, well, this is a mountain that I can't climb, Even the Bunker Hill deal, which is actually like Breed's Hill. I've been there. I've been at that spot twice, matter of fact. Took pictures of it and everything. But like when we said don't, because they didn't have enough ammunition, they said, shoot, the white of their eyes. I'm trying to think how that came up. Don't shoot until you see the white of their eyes. And
which means they're close.
Means they're close. So like, because you got to save ammunition. They didn't have much. But like that sent a direct signal that we can compete. We can compete. They had, we lost that battle, but it sent a signal like, hey, we ain't backing down, bro. It made me think of like a bully, and you get beat up, you lose that fight, but you're like so scrappy. They know you for real. You're gonna fight back. And so I'm right there with you, man. It took a lot of grit and to do hard things, and because if you really look at it, those who listen, like you understand, like they were taxing like crazy amounts, and everything was being taxed.
Paper, yeah,
everything, and then they were sending out those who were there, who were like wealthy families. They would send their goods and services back to like overseas, and depending on how all that worked, they'd get a fraction. They would just get gypped. They would just get gypped every time, and so because of that, you're doing all the work in America at the time, or the colonies were doing all the work, the people, and not receiving hardly any of the profits. So therefore, they were like in debt.
Right.
And so therefore, like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. But there's nobody to represent them, to fight for them. And then when they kind of push back a little bit, they were like, nah, basically you're inferior. And then the guys just had enough grit and guts to say, we ain't gonna do that, bro.
We'll show you.
We'll show you what's up. Yeah, man. Yeah. We can always all learn something. I was speaking at a camp the other week, last week, matter of fact. And on Friday we do a Q&A. And at the end of the Q&A, finished Q&A, they submit questions. It was great. and the guy, the executive director of the camp, asked me a question. Hey, I turned my phone off. I had my questions on it, and I was answering them to the best of my ability, my thoughts, my 2 cents. And he said, "Hey, I know this is kind of like last minute." And he said, "But what would you say? I know there's a lot of young men here in the audience." And he says, "What would you say to the young men that were here if you could say one thing to them?" And I said, "Man, I was trying to figure out how I'm going to say what I'm going to say." I said, "Well, actually, 2 things. I'd be glad to say 2 things. If you ever hear anything from me, that 2 things. One was flee temptation. Have enough courage to walk away. The Bible doesn't say we fight. It says flee. So whenever you run from something, run to something better. And obviously we believe in Jesus. And so run to Jesus." And the second thing I said, the thing that we say oftentimes, my friends and I said, is that I would love to see young men today that are not afraid of the hard things.
Yeah.
So I would encourage every man, every young boy that wants to be a man one day to do hard things. And if you're a lady in the audience, and I said, you're listening to my voice right now, I can't really see you, because the lights were on, I don't know who's all looking at me, really. I was on stage, and I said, don't ever settle for a guy who's not willing to do hard things. I said, guys, boys, they'll run from hard stuff, but men, they'll embrace it. And that's exactly what I think. And I'm so glad you opened it up with that, talking about doing hard things, because Lord knows, man, it'd be different. I mean, back in those days, they didn't have, they couldn't call teledoc if they got shot,
right.
bro. Like, they had to saw somebody's arm off, And food, they have winter clothes. They did all the hard, and this is up in New York.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, New York, Delaware, all of those areas, yeah.
Yeah, so it was wild, man.
Well, one of the things I really appreciated also, and this is transferable to us, once again, not meaning to make this about Washington and all of that, but there were so many lessons from that. So if you've not seen those, if you've got Netflix, check it out. It's just called Washington.
I think it's on Amazon too.
It's on Amazon too. Yeah, it was from the History Channel, so it's probably available on both. And then, of course, the other movie, which is a little more theatrical, but the thing that really stood out to me was the fact that Washington was so young, and yet by the time he is leading, and the war's almost over, he went from making some of the stupidest mistakes and being foolish to making some of the wisest decisions and keeping the men together when there were guys trying to create a mutiny and trying to kind of persuade people, which once again, it shows human nature is the same. You've got guys who are in the background, whispering and trying to divide and trying to get power. It's like human nature never changes. And yet Washington, you can still change in character. You can still change in your values. You can still change in those things. And so Washington had learned from his mistakes. And I think as men, we have to be willing to do that.
Yeah.
I know in our next episode, we're going to be talking about some different challenges that men face. And I think oftentimes we may face some certain challenges because we're not willing to learn from our mistakes. And he had learned so much that there was that one meeting that he walks into, and I was like, man, that's awesome. That's like one of those things. And the guy is actively trying to cause division and actively almost treason. And Washington basically says, can I have the floor? Even though he's the general, like he's in charge. And he gets before the men, and he just speaks with wisdom. And the contrast between the 22-year-old Washington and now this Washington is just phenomenal. And he held that group together and caused it not to, because basically what they would have done would have ruined everything that they had given their life to. And I thought that was so cool that we as men need to continually grow and learn from our mistakes and get, choose wisdom.
That's right. Got to get better, 1% better. That somebody once said, when's the best time to plant a shade tree? You know the best time to plant a shade tree?
I mean, I've heard different things. I would say 20 years ago.
Yep, 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So the
and
point
today.
is, and today, so that in the future you have some shade. And so all those lessons, all those losses were really learns in Washington. But he had a choice to make sure it was a learn and not a loss.
Yeah.
And so what looked like a defeat was just prepared them for something really great, you know?
Well,
So-
and you know, before we wrap up, the reality of that is to foresee that you need a shade tree.
Yep.
Like you have to think ahead and not just in the moment.
Yep.
We're all about instant gratification, but knowing what you want in the long run and thinking through what's going to help me get there. You know, if I need a shade tree, I need to plant that now.
That's right.
You know, where do I want to be in a year? What do I need to do now to get there? Is it in my fitness? Do I need to lose weight? Do I need to get in shape? You know,
Yep.
then that matters today.
Right.
And I need to start planting that now. Education, career, like I've got to think beyond today, and then I got to figure out what I need to do from here to there to get there. Right. And oftentimes we live day to day, hour to hour, and we never plant the shade tree. We never do what we need to do.
Hey, hope you learned something today. Grateful for the people who saw our country 250 years ago.
Absolutely.
Saw, hey, this is what we want America. It's not perfect, Nick, as you know, it's not perfect, but it's ours.
Yes.
And we got to get better in America and get better as men. So,
yep. Hey, if you enjoyed anything with this episode, because we're grateful for you men, as well as all of the men that have gone before us over those 250 years, we would love for you to share this episode, share the podcast, and you can do so on our social media pages as well, everywhere that we have podcasts. We'd love for you to also leave a review that helps boost us in the search results, and as people are looking for good podcasts, the higher the rating, the more chances are they're going to check it out. And so we'd love for you to do that. We'd love for you to check us out online, our merch site. We've got merch, and that's mailcartel.com. Just go to the menu and go to where there's merch, and you can order it from there. And other than that, as we tell you and encourage you every episode,
yep,
let's get 1% better every day. We'll
Thanks
see
for
you.
listening. We'll see you.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining the Male Cartel podcast. Be sure to subscribe and share to help other men join the cartel. You can also keep up with us on social media and at malecartel.com.